We are the DFPN. Always question the answers.
No Gimmicks podcast, and we bring it to you. Every time we turn live, man, you know it's the truth. Every after show, moving down, it's the time we move around. No Gimmicks podcast is going down. Every night, every time in the ring, it's the time for no gimmicks, no, we doing our thing. What's your state of mind, state of mind? Moving down the statement when we take the line. This is exactly wrestling the state design. When you see Stone Cold like me, with the stunner in the world, exactly, man, what we bring. Every night we move like Brock Lesnar, the F5, no gimmicks. We take you to your limit, what's the feeling? When we live in the air, you know we on, that's the time. Guarantee we move, you know how we respond. The state design, the state design when we feel it. Moving down, what's the healing? No gimmicks is the feeling.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the No Gimmicks podcast here on the DFPN. We got a loaded show for you guys tonight. We got a guest tonight. So this is our first time, long time. This is way overdue. Way overdue. Me and this guy, since I met him, we've been talking wrestling, and I don't know why I haven't had him on the show yet. You normally see both of us on BCP Plus. Shout out to the BCP Plus. My guy Rob over there doing this thing, but we got him on the show tonight. The man, the head honcho over at thepopbreak.com, the dad bod demigod himself, Mr. Bill Bodkin. Welcome to the show, buddy.
Well, thank you, man. I'm really excited to talk about 1992's run of Clash of Champions. It's going to be great. We're going to talk a lot of Brad Armstrong, a lot of Too Cold Scorpio on this one. I'm ready to talk about it, man.
Oh man, that's awesome. That's an awesome welcome. Way to introduce yourself.
Hey, man.
And always, my co-host, the fabulous one, the Darth one himself, Mr. D. Vader. What's up, buddy? How are you this week?
I'm great. How about yourself, man?
I'm doing, you know what? I'm actually doing pretty good this week. It's been a busy week. For those of you who don't know, No Gimmicks, we recently crossed the 1,000 subscriber threshold over on YouTube. So thank you to everybody that's been paying attention to the show, subscribing, liking what you're seeing. That's some really dope shit. I really do appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. DFPN as a whole has been climbing. This week, we've had a significant growth across all of our shows. USDN, awesome. Smoke Pit, Queens, Eat the Cake Anime, of course, No Gimmicks. It's been a really good week for DFPN. So I'm actually in good spirits, man.
Congratulations, man.
Appreciate it, man. Appreciate it. But again, we got a loaded show for you guys. We're going to talk some WrestleMania build-up. Is it what we expecting? Some storylines that we need to talk about. We got a big what if for you guys, but let's jump into the show. Let's start right where we want to start right now. So let's go into the movie and film industry. We need to talk a little bit of Star Wars. You guys ready?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Let's do it. So we're going to jump into the Disney realm, and it was announced that Kathleen Kennedy is going to be leaving Lucasfilm. My question to both of you guys, Bill, I'm going to kick it to you first since you're the guest.
Thank you.
We'll get the thoughts. I know D's got some thoughts, so we'll kick it to you first. Is it too late for her to be gone? Is the damage already done to the Star Wars universe with her departure?
It's never too late, man. I think it's there's a song that said it was too late to apologize by One Republic. I just want to make the whitest reference of all time. But I don't think it is, man. I don't think Star Wars is ruined. I mean, if you look at the end of year that Disney put out for the number of minutes their original content was watched, Star Wars, it was the Acolyte, and all we heard about how much of a disaster it was. It was the most watched original film, series on Disney Plus. Skeleton Crew not far behind it. Billions of minutes of that show watched, a show that we were all told so bad. No one liked it. No one watched it. But people came and they came and they watched it. And I think a new coat of paint, a new person in charge will do wonders. I mean, Marvel, we thought, it was, oh man, last 2 years, oh, it's done, man. It's done. And then all of a sudden, what's the show everyone in the world is excited for? Daredevil.
Yeah.
And they've changed Marvel has changed what they were going to do. Instead of every month a new Marvel property, they've scaled it back. And after post Captain America, I think we're going to see. I hope we see a change in that. I think the same could be said about Star Wars. I think the only thing holding Star Wars back is Star Wars fans in a lot of ways, because they hate everything. And I'm a Star Wars fan. Return of the Jedi was the first non-animated movie I ever saw. And I was like a wee lad in swaddling clothes in my father's lap watching it. And I was like, this is the greatest thing ever. And I've loved it ever since. Now, did I love the prequels? No. But I feel the new films and the new series aren't perfect by any means, but there's still a lot of good stuff in there. And I think putting the right people in the right creative and telling stories and being bold instead of trying to make everyone happy, I think trying to tell a good story that will just be good, I think is what they should do. I think they're too worried about everyone. They're so afraid to make a mistake that they make all the mistakes. I think when they made The Mandalorian season 1, I think I don't know about you guys, but I loved it. And season 2, I love that too. But it didn't feel like they had this fear. They didn't feel like they felt like we're just going to make this show. But when we got to season 3, Book of Boba Fett and other stuff, we got to make sure. Oh, we got to put Mando. It felt very panicky, very reactionary. And I want someone who go in there who loves Star Wars, or is at least has the faith that they can tell good stories.
You bring up some good points. And before we get to D, I'll jump in there real quick. So I think for what you're saying, I agree with. There's a little bit of good in this Disney run. The problem I had with it is that it wasn't consistent.
No.
You had good stories like Mandalorian season 1, season 2, and then they trailed off season 3. It's just they got to a point to where it was too many changes, and again, they were trying to cater to everybody. So by the time you get to Acolyte was for me it was a hit and miss show.
It was.
You had some good stuff in there, but overall, and then you get to this point where you start playing with the lore, and that's where you really the Star Wars fans, if you start messing with the lore a little bit, that's kind of like a no-go. And I get they're trying to tell new stories, but you just can't mess up the lore. Like for me, if that were Marvel and Marvel does go off script from comics from time to time, but they kind of keep it consistent to where it makes sense, the changes that they do make.
And Marvel has changed so many storylines that within their own world, they've changed so many. Yeah,
exactly. But it was to the point to where it still made sense, and it was still sort of in the realm of the comic books. Star Wars did not do that at all. They were trying to go off and tell their own stories, and I think that's where they started messing up. And I think the blame went squarely to Kathleen Kennedy, because you don't have that voice that says, I'm here for the fans. She wasn't here for the fans, for the Star Wars fans. She was here to tell whatever stories that made the most sense to her. And I think when you get into that pocket, it was a recipe for a disaster. If you can bring somebody in that will say to the fans, hey, I understand your pain. Give me a little bit. We can fix it. I think what they had with the Mandalorian, if they go back to that kind of formula that they were doing on season 1, you bring a lot of fans back into it. But it's gonna be a lot of you're gonna have to prove a lot, because this franchise is fractured. That is for sure. So go ahead.
Yeah, I do agree with that. I think actually the films are ones that did the most damage. Because I really like The Force Awakens. But it's the main 3. Because I know people like, I loved Rogue One. I think Solo's on the second viewing is fun, but I think like because it was like Force Awakens, I remember so many people saw it and it's just like, oh man, there was two reactions. It was, oh, this is just a New Hope again, or oh man, that felt good. I think we're back. I think we're back. This is good. And then The Last Jedi came out, and that was either you loved it or it ruined your childhood
Yeah.
forever.
Yeah.
And then Rise of Skywalker was like, oh shit, we can't make Last Jedi again, so let's try and make everyone happy by bringing the Emperor back in. And then just everyone was just, it was like that Family Guy thing where they're talking about Blair Witch is like, nothing's happening. Everyone in the theater is really pissed, and that's what it was, you know. And I think it was that reaction. They were more afraid, and I also think putting three separate directors in it to direct was, I think, a little silly. I think they should have had a singular vision, and they didn't. And I think on TV with Filoni, at least, they will have more of a singular vision that makes sense. They don't have a Kevin Feige who's like in the weeds. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I agree with that. Frank D, what you got?
Well, I'm going to disagree. I'm going to disagree with Bill on a lot of points.
That's all good.
So nobody watched The Acolyte. It's been proven in the numbers that have come out from Disney that they tried to hide. The only time people watched the show was episodes 1, episodes 2. Episode 3 fell off until the finale. So you had a big budget show that no one watched. Really, it did not chart. And at the end of the day, people wonder, well, why did Lucasfilm cancel? Why did they do it? Lucasfilm didn't cancel anything. It was Bob Iger that made the decision to cancel The Acolyte. And it all came down to big budget, no viewership. It didn't make fiscal sense to continue this show. That's what happened. Now we move on to the Skeleton Crew, which I've not watched the Skeleton Crew, but I've heard nothing but good things about it.
Yeah,
but
it's really good.
Haven't watched it, and it's because at this point you have the Star Wars apathy is what you have. You have people that just, they're not going to watch it. They're not going to go with it. And I think that, I mean, you know, we can sit up here and debate movies all day long. The biggest destructive force to Star Wars has been Kathleen Kennedy. Because Kathleen Kennedy, at the end of the day, the buck stops with her. Just like the buck stopped with Vince McMahon in the WWE for many, many years. The buck stops with Kathleen Kennedy. Kathleen Kennedy made the force was female. That's what she said. And she said, we're going to change all this stuff. Basically, we're going to make this a girl brand. You cannot make Star Wars into a girl brand. And then I hear all the bullshit about, well, you know, everybody just has a problem with it being a woman. My guy, we had Princess Leia. We had Padme. We had all these different people. So I'm not exactly sure why people thought that all of a sudden that we wouldn't be accepting to that. We have Ahsoka Tano. I mean, look at Ahsoka. When Ahsoka Tano first debuted in the Clone Wars, everybody hated that character. But it grew over time to what it was because she's the apprentice of Anakin Skywalker. So the Clone Wars kind of filled that gap in, you know, up until Revenge of the Sith. Did all of that. So when you look at Disney projects since they acquired Lucasfilm, all I can say is that you've gotten more content. You've gotten The Mandalorian season 1, season 2. Excellent. I mean, the biggest episode they ever did in the history of Disney Star Wars was the return of Luke Skywalker. Episode 16, season 2. That was the best thing they ever did. What's another one they did? Kenobi. I mean, you talk about bait and switch. And I was just watching Kenobi earlier today. And I'm like, you know, this would have been a good show if it had not been Obi-Wan Kenobi. If it was not Obi-Wan Kenobi, this would have been great. I don't have an issue necessarily with Reva, the character. I think it's a great story. She's a youngling that was, you know, Anakin went after her in the Jedi Temple. Okay, cool. You could have had a show called The Inquisitorius, and it could have just been Darth Vader and the Inquisitors. That would have been fine. But the mere fact that you have a show called Obi-Wan Kenobi, and it's not about Kenobi, that's the problem. And I think that's where a lot of the issues went. So when you brought up The Last Jedi, well, remember, The Force Awakens, that's a good movie. Great movie. But some stuff happened there with The Last Jedi when Ryan Johnson decided to come in. He wanted to make a divisive film. That's where the downfall really started. It was at The Last Jedi. Then Rise of Skywalker, that was J.J. Abrams having to come back and try to kind of recoup the entire situation. Like, they went ahead and screwed everything up. He was very pissed. I don't know if you guys know the story of this or not, but JJ was very pissed when he saw The Last Jedi when they destroyed Kylo Ren's mask. Because, like, why would you do that? Because of all the time they spent trying to find the mask. And then they just destroyed it in The Last Jedi. Then they had to bring it back in Rise of Skywalker. And I think it's just too much. I don't know, man. It's like, and I told you several times, but about the ongoings of Lucasfilm and how Kathleen should have been done last year. She was supposed to be out of there, and she didn't go. So I think I'm going to say the damage has been done with Star Wars, but maybe there's a new hope somewhere. Maybe there's a new hope in whoever's going to take over that position. Is it Filoni? I don't know. Filoni's kind of hit and miss. I think Filoni is excellent at animation. Live action, he's kind of hit and miss. Could it be Jon Favreau? Only if Favreau wants to do it. Could it be Tony Gilroy? Not necessarily. Tony Gilroy's already said that after Andor Season 2, he's done with Star Wars. So I don't know where we go at this point. But all I know is get her ass out. And then maybe we can kind of recoup some of this.
So I was going to bring this up too. What would, and I'll kick this to you, D. What would make you happy as a Star Wars fan? Who could they bring in and put in that spot that would build that relationship back with the Star Wars fan base? Because I have a name in mind, but who would it be for you?
I mean, it would have to be the guy that has had the most success over there with anything they've done, and that's Jon Favreau, because of just what he's done with The Mandalorian. But the time's going to tell when The Mandalorian Grogu comes out, if that's going to be successful. That's going to be their next test. And I think it's kind of funny, real quick, that Kathleen is exiting. Okay, mind you, what have we heard the last couple of years? That they were going to do the Rey movie, that they're going to do New Jedi Order and all that. Remember, all that stuff's going to happen. They're going to do the Mango movie. She's exiting before all these failures happen, is what I think is going down. She doesn't want the stain on her. I honestly think this, not trying to be a negative Nelly here, but I honestly think that I don't think The Mandalorian Grogu is going to be a successful movie. I really don't think so. I think the cuteness of Grogu is gone. They've waited too long to do anything with it. I think that it's gone. And I can tell you right now, because of Ollie's, you look at all the toys at Ollie's, nothing but Grogu. Nothing but all these Star Wars toys. So that kind of tells me right there that Grogu is not popular. All the kids that like The Mandalorian and Grogu, they kind of grew up. They're kind of out of it now.
Yeah.
So
you're right about that.
But it will be Favreau.
Bill, who would you put there?
I mean, my pick is Filoni. I've heard that I don't think Favreau wants to do it, but I think Filoni's the guy for me. I think he is a fan. He's a guy who has the legacy going back to George Lucas. He's a creative too, and I think someone in a creative role, I think would give the fans a bit of hope, pun intended. You know what I mean? It's like, he has been connected with some very beloved animated series. Ahsoka was, I think, generally received well. And like Dee said it, there's been some stuff he's been associated that hasn't done well either. But I do think that he would be the guy. I think you want to give someone. I mean, there's someone who I think would be a great director, and I don't know if to run Star Wars. I'm a big Bryce Dallas Howard fan. Everything she's touched in Star Wars has been great. I think that's someone you give a movie to, but I don't think running the studio or running that part. I think you have to give someone who has the time, who has the legacy. Like Feige was with Fox and was producing, he was on the set of the first X-Men film, and now he's doing it. It makes the most sense.
Yeah. Yeah. My pick would be Favreau too. Only because he's been successful at it.
Yeah.
He's made he's drawn the most attention to the Disney portion of the franchise and told great stories while also trying to stick to the lore. That's
Mando season 3 was a
Mando season 3
hot
was
pile of
it
garbage.
was hot garbage. So
So
I got to can't. So in that same vein, Filoni's has some misses too.
Yeah.
So
I just look at Favreau and I'm just like, there's something about it, like yes and no for me. It's just like I almost feel like he like likes to get in early, and then he's like, all right, I'm gonna cash out and be on the executive producer level, like he did in Marvel.
yeah,
I mean, he was the first,
yeah.
then he's like, I'll take those checks. You know what I mean? And
yeah.
I do love him. When I love his first film, Made, was one of my favorites. We quoted, it's my wife's family. We quote it all the time, but just something about him. I'm just like, I don't know. I just don't know. But I mean, I think Filoni would be the guy just because of his ties to George. I think the next person really has to tie into George. I know Kathleen Kennedy worked with him forever, but he sat under the creative learning tree of George, and I think that could benefit him the most. Outside of that, man, I saw some other names. I saw someone's like, well, put Kevin Feige in charge of it. I'm like,
no,
he's got to run Marvel.
No.
Do you want the man to die tomorrow? Because no one can handle that stress, man. Come on. No one can handle that.
No. Please don't. I would say, and I'm gonna be fair. I'm gonna be fair to Filoni because I've had very harsh criticisms of him. But
I feel like it's the hat. I think that's what mad. I guess I could see that you getting angry about that.
Yeah. Very much.
As you reside in Texas.
Go somewhere. But
you're like that son of a bitch wearing a cowboy hat. Not from around here.
But yeah, man, it's gonna be interesting to see who they put in there. But I just want them to listen to the fans, because the fans will give you some good ideas.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I do feel that I think D is very open-minded. I think there was a lot of people that hated the fact there were women in Star Wars. Like in the leads.
Very much. Very much.
I think they got mad about it. But people got big mad about the prequels too. Remember, if you ever see
me and him have this debate regularly.
Of course you do.
We have this debate regularly, and his main point is, and he's right. There have been women involved in Star Wars, and they have been iconic. So to his point, yes, there have been successful women in the franchise, and the stories behind the people that they are bringing in now aren't really meshing with today's audience. So they got to figure that part out.
I just don't know. I just don't know if people are so caught up in the lore. I don't know but Andor works so well, right?
Exactly.
It's like, I think you have to have courage. You have to have and I think that's the problem with the Disney of it all. It's just like, you got to make the most money, and you're just trying to and it's a lot of pandering. And so they're like, well, we can't get away from the Skywalkers and stuff. It's like, hey, you've proven you can. And I just
with
think
the Mandalorian,
and Andor.
No, that's bullshit. Because who are they bringing back in the Mandalorian? Luke Skywalker.
Yeah, true.
True. But Andor, and it's not direct. I mean, it's tied into prior to Star Wars. Yeah, but it's not.
Empire.
There's no Jedi in it. Yeah,
it doesn't matter. It's still the Empire. Who's the Empire? It's Darth Vader. Who's Darth Vader? Anakin Skywalker. So you're still feeding off of. So here's the thing. This is kind of what I had an idea about too. I would actually like it if Star Wars would kind of change direction. And what I mean by that is you have different projects going on, right? So you have people like myself that like the legacy characters. We like Darth Vader and all. Okay, we'll do something for them. Then you got people that like the sequels. Do something for them. Then you can still tell your own stories. I think that you got to have something for everybody. You can't just say, okay, well, we're going to push the new characters and say, fuck the old ones. You can't do that because obviously that has not worked. If it worked, you would never have named the chick Rey Skywalker. If we were truly going past all of that, you know what I mean? So because Disney's not stupid. Let me tell you a quick story right quick.
They should call it Rey
So-
Mysterio.
It would have been better. I mean, would she have gotten over though? That's the thing.
I mean,
and I
would
still-
have been
I-
better,
I
more
still
over
say
than
this.
Star Wars than Skywalker.
I say this. The thing with that too, at the end of Rise of Skywalker, is it should have been a role reversal there. It should have been Kylo Ren, Ben going to the light side. Rey should have went to the dark side. You could have had that kind of, if you want to truly start something new. How do you do it? The only way to do something with Rey, how do you make money with Rey? Rey has to go to the dark side. That's the only way you're going to do anything with her. No one is going to ever, nothing against Daisy Ridley. No one is ever going to identify with this character unless she goes to the dark side. She has to embrace the fact that she's a Palpatine. And that's where they have to go with this. Because she's not going to be an Obi-Wan Kenobi. I heard that stupid story. She's not an Obi-Wan Kenobi. Okay? What have you no. Never going to happen. Okay? But I would like to see Lucasfilm to say, okay, you're in charge of this division. You're in charge of that division. And let's you guys, your stories over here, you do your stories, and they don't intertwine. That's why we do it.
I like that because I feel like they're trying to, like you were saying, like I'm like, well, Andor, and then you're like, no, let's still intertwine. And then if you do separate stuff, I think it could definitely work. And I think that's what you have to. I 100% agree. You have to divorce it.
Brand split. Basically, look, Raw, SmackDown, yeah, they kind of intertwine them. But it's kind of the same concept. Lucasfilm, you're in charge of this legacy stuff over here. So you guys do the EU, then we have the new stuff. That's the way it goes. That's what I mean. Because listen, what's the most toys that they sell right now? It's the legacy toys. That's what they sell. They're selling Darth Vader. They're selling Luke Skywalker. They're selling Princess Leia. They got a whole new wave of figures coming out right now, and it's all built around A New Hope. They got a brand new Obi-Wan Kenobi Alec Guinness coming out. Oh. So I mean, yeah, and they got the Revenge of the Sith figures about to come out again. The repackaging. Disney's not stupid. They know what people are buying. All right, it is what it is. And I like Kylo Ren. I got no problem with Kylo Ren. I thought Kylo Ren got sidetracked from what the original vision was. Even Adam Driver will tell you that if you look at the interviews he's in. He'll tell you that what his character ended up doing was not supposed to be what his characters ended up doing. So, I don't know. But hey, the bitch is going to be out soon, so oh well.
And with that's
the legacy of Kathleen Kennedy.
With that, let's move on, man. Let's jump into some WWE news, and we got a lot to cover.
I like you have like these like your production is pretty great.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. We work hard. We work hard. But WrestleMania, the build. We talked last episode, D, about are we really excited for this WrestleMania? And the answer is a resounding no. And no. Lo and behold, after that episode, The Rock comes back. So it's like, all right, they're trying to right the wrongs. Here we go. But they threw a wrench in the plans. So it's Cody and The Rock, and Cody asked The Rock. No, The Rock asked Cody for his soul, and this is where we are. Where are we going with this?
Straight to hell is where you're going, brother. It's so bad.
Where are we going with this?
Oh man.
So D, I'm gonna give the floor to you. What does this do for WrestleMania? What does this do for the plan moving forward? Does it change any of your excitement? I know the answer, but shoot.
Fuck no. It doesn't change any of my excitement. No, bro. And I'm going to tell you why. Because it's just out of left field, man. It's like, okay, all of a sudden now The Rock comes back. Okay, I'm going to start calling the guy Bipolar Rock. Because he don't know whether he wants to be a heel or wants to be a babyface. 1 minute he's a babyface talking about WrestleMania. Then the next minute he's talking about somebody knocking syphilis off their mouth or whatever. I mean, he can't figure it out. So I honestly, it changes nothing. I mean, you and I have gone back and forth on Messenger or whatever, talking about this lack of build for WrestleMania, lack of excitement, and we were like, we're damn near there, and there's nothing here. And I'm thinking like, you know what? It kind of goes back to the Saturday Night's main event here, San Antonio, with Jey Uso and Gunther. It started there, and then it went on to the Royal Rumble, and just nothing against Jey Uso. It's not Jey Uso. It's not him. But it's just like, I'm happy you won, but the masses are not feeling it. But at the same time, guess what? That's not Jey Uso's problem. That's creative's problem, because creative is not given a good story for us to connect to that's going to drive that excitement. I'm sorry, you gonna. I mean, how many times are we gonna dust off? And we were just talking about the Skywalkers, right? Okay, cool. How many times are we gonna dust off The Rock to be the nostalgia to come back to try to right this ship? You feel what I'm saying? How many times are we going to do this?
Many times as he feels like.
Well, that's the problem. But it's not having the same effect anymore.
Nope.
I mean, it's given that you get the number, but it's not having the same effect. Like, okay, like last year was different. Like last year that led to something, that led to the final boss. But it's like the thing with The Rock that kind of got me was when he showed up at the Raw and Netflix and completely babyfaced it. That's what kind of killed it. So for you to do all that and then come back now and say, I want your soul, I want you to be my champion, kind of harkening back to Mr. McMahon telling Stone Cold Steve Austin, I want you to be my champion, I just, unless something happens here with Emperor Rock and Anakin Cody, I don't see a heel turn happening for Cody Rhodes. I think he's too resistant to do it. But I tell Cody, listen, there was another guy that was resistant to a heel turn at one point in time in his career too. His name was Hulk Hogan. And he turned because he knew he had to. He saw the money train is what it was. I just, okay, so if let's just hypothetically say this. Okay, so let's just say that he sells out. He turns. Where do you go with him at that point? I mean, to me, it's obviously if you turn him heel, you got to put him against John Cena. That's the only person that you can put him against.
Yep.
Okay?
At this point, yeah.
But if let's just say Cody don't
take
take it, I don't think they have a plan. I mean, it could be, but I mean, if you want to think about it, who's the bigger heel? Is it Cody or is it Cena? I think it's John Cena, because John Cena basically politicked his way into that match. He says that I am entitled, I deserve to be in a chamber match. Even though I didn't win the Rumble, it doesn't matter. I'm John Cena, and I'm going to Elimination Chamber, and I'm going to win it. I'm going to give you guys a month to run your mouth about John Cena, to do whatever you want to, and I'm going to beat you in the Elimination Chamber. That's some big WCW Hulk Hogan politicking right there is what it's called. So, who's the heel?
I think they put him in a match together, and I think Cody Rhodes is the heel because it's John Cena's retirement tour, and everyone's just like, yay, John Cena's back. And they forget. I feel like that audience is not the long-term memory isn't there of the John Cena golden shovel and Super Cena, taking on some other guys. Yeah, and I think they're all like, oh, it's his final hurrah. He's the baby face. He's a good guy. Now, here's the thing. It's so funny is both of these dudes would be such money drawing heels. I think everyone wants to talk about AEW because I'm an AEW guy. So it's just like everyone's talking like, oh, Punk and the Elite not fighting. That is all the money left on the table. Wrong. The money left on the table was Cody Rhodes being the Ric Flair of AEW and turning heel and being the dude and fighting Punk and fighting Hangman. He would have been so over as a heel, and he would have drawn so much money, but he didn't want to do it. And he doesn't want to do it here, and Cena doesn't want to do it. It's a bit absurd.
Save that point. Save that point for later.
Oh, don't worry. I already have. That was a little absurd. That was a bit of an appetite.
It's a bit absurd. Like, and I agree with you, Bill. It is a bit absurd because here's the thing. It just sounds like, I mean, listen, they can talk about world records and shit all they want to. Yeah, because you're price gouging the shit out of your fans. That's why you got these world records partner. Let's just straight up get it right, okay? That's why you're doing it. But at the same time, here's the deal. Cody was around, okay? Dusty was at WCW when all this shit was going down, and Hogan was coming out there. Hogan got to WCW 94. Hogan was getting booed. And then, Hall and Nash come in there. And he saw what was happening. It's like, because originally they said that it was supposed to be Sting that was going to be the heel. He was going to turn at Bash at the Beach. And then Hogan said, no, brother, it's going to be me. And it blew up the scene. So it's like, I'm thinking with Cody, I'm like, bro, the big money feud you could have is a Cody, Seth Rollins, but as heel Cody versus a CM Punk, heel Cody versus a Roman Reigns. It's time to flip it around. Hogan made more money as a heel fighting all the baby faces that he used to be aligned with. I mean, what was his first feud he did? It was with the Giant, right? And then Ric Flair, then Macho Man, then it was Sting. Well, we know what happened with that, but it was Sting. So it's kind of history repeating itself. And I, the sad part about it, man, is like, we talk about the numbers, bro. And I sent you the numbers of what WCW was doing in 2000. The WCW numbers in 2000 are what the WWE numbers are right now. That shows you how they've fallen off. Like, I mean, they're breaking records, right? That's what you hear all the time. We're breaking records and some about this and some about that. And we're doing what? But your numbers, Netflix globally, your numbers are in the shitter. So what are you talking about? You're muted again. Hey, Vince is muting you.
It's a corporation, man.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, man.
It's the AOL general manager.
But yeah, we talked about this last week too, and the audience, right? The global audience, it's a decline, and this is you have The Rock coming back. You have so much going in for you. So I looked at the quarter-hour numbers for SmackDown, right?
Oh, yeah, you guys looking at numbers? Shit, yes. Man. I have to agree in words, not numbers. I'm like, oh man.
So I looked at the numbers for SmackDown. The highest number was when The Rock was on the show. Mm-hmm. After that, it was abysmal. And it was like people waited for that moment. And once that moment happened, people left. And you can't get to a space to where you rely on that because it's gonna grow old fast. The Rock can't be there forever. So you have to, I think if you do this thing with Cody and you kind of turn the world on its head, it will attract more people because it's not what anybody's expecting. I don't think anybody would expect John Cena to turn heel either, but it would be a finally and people probably will want to see it. But I think it would mean more if Cody turned heel against the John Cena because now it's like, all right, this guy's a corporate champion. He's nothing like he used to be. This may be actually pretty cool. Let me tune in to see what this is about. And then just let him run loose. But I don't think he wants to do that.
Yeah, John Cena's, the money is in the farewell tour.
Yes.
It's not in a story, unfortunately. But Cody, and here's my thing about Triple H as a booker. He is the equivalent of a game manager in the NFL. He is Alex Smith, Joe Flacco, Trent Dilfer. You know why he's not gonna fumble. He's not gonna really turn the ball over. He's gonna run the playbook. But if you want to get creative, if you want something big, he's not the guy. He inherited Cody Rhodes. Vince McMahon brought him in. He was given CM Punk on a silver platter. He inherited the bloodline. He inherited Judgment Day. Nothing. What has he created? What has he done? Has he done little things?
God, someone said it.
No, you've never listened to me on PCP and how much I don't like WWE, but I have to be nice because Rob's audience really likes them. And I mean, like it's just, and you go back to his NXT booking too. Like he basically was like, oh, I know what to do. It's like I had 1 hour with no crowd, and I'm just going to sign every over talent ever and put them into my company and just let them wrestle. And who did he develop? Who was it? Who was an original? Outside the women is a different story. The women's division in NXT, there were homegrown talent there, but with the men, it was all like I just saw. He would send Regal to Bola or PWG Battle Los Angeles and be like, sign the top 10 guys. Well, I could do that too, man. Like I could go pick a whole bunch of all-stars and put them on the field.
They're doing that now.
Yeah,
they're doing that now.
And they're going to fall into the same trap. I mean, is Penta more? What has he done to Penta that he didn't do in Mexico or AEW? It's just a WWE polish on him. Like Ricky Saints, like his entrance music is the same thing, just slightly different, same presentation. Everyone's got the same thing. And a lot of the stuff he brought in during the Paul Levesque era is just he bit off of AEW. He said wrestling. He acknowledged other companies, factions. Oh man, it's just like how so there's no storyline. So he's always goes back to the bloodline, whether it's The Rock, whether it's Roman, whether it's we'll push Jacob now or Solo. And you're like, okay, well, what's the story? Then he gives them Jey Uso, who is WWE's version of the Sandman, who has the great entrance, the one everyone loves. And I've been watching more Raw just to really comment more on stuff. And everyone's doing the yeet. And then once the bell rings, brother, what's there?
Bro, I'm gonna tell you. Okay.
And I'm being nice.
This is gonna be. I'm about to say something, and it's gonna be like, oh shit, I might get heat for this one. Okay. Jey Uso, I got nothing but love for Jey. Been watching that dude since he started with his brother when they were down there. What was it? FCW.
FCW, yeah.
Okay. No issues, but Jay's work can be a little sloppy. Okay, it's very sloppy. Jey Uso at this point in time right now is the Ultimate Warrior, where you see the entrance and when the bell rings, it's over. That's kind of what I'm getting from it. It's like now it's just the entrance. The dude takes 10, 15 minutes just for the entrance now because that's it. There is nothing else. You know what I mean? It's kind of like back in the day with NWO, right? Okay, NWO would have the coolest entrance. Like these dudes were just super cool fucking heels, right? Okay, but when the bell rang, who was the one out there that was actually working, doing good matches? Sean Waltman, Scott Hall. Those were your best workers in the faction. The other ones just got by. Nothing against Kevin Nash. I'll give Kevin Nash an honorable mention, but it's kind of the same thing here. Like with the bloodline. Like, okay, where do you go with this now? Jacob's rumored Jacob versus Solo WrestleMania, right? Okay, how are we getting there? What's the okay? You super kicked him. Okay, where's the story? So it's kind of going back to what Bill said here. We're just gonna. I want to use this way this week, but don't we criticize Tony Khan for doing the same shit? Yep. Like he'll put this guy over here, and then he'll take this one here and put him away for a little while, then he'll bring him back. So it should go both ways. I'm not seeing Booker of the Year here when I see Triple H. I don't see it. I've never seen it. I'm not seeing creativity here. I don't see it because I'm just going to be dead ass serious here. Okay. I go back to 2000 and what was it? The Reign of Terror. What was that? 2002 onward. That was some bad TV, bro. That was some bad shit. I'm sorry. It just was. It was Triple H dominated. And once again, it goes back to creative, but he had a lot to do with that. You know what I mean? So I think kind of where we are right now, like, bro, what happened from last year up until this year, where this year we can't build to WrestleMania properly? I think a lot of it has to do with the Royal Rumble being moved to February. I think it kind of screwed shit up.
I can tell you, WrestleMania 40 was Vince's product. That was Vince's last project.
Yep.
Then it became the Paul Levesque era.
Yeah,
because everything was planned up to WrestleMania 40 by Vince McMahon.
Yeah, and also Triple H had they did a hell of a PR job on that guy. Everyone hated him, and then now he's Papa H. Is everyone's beloved veteran, right? But man, it's just WWE. I've said this for a while. I said on BCP a bunch. It's TikTokable wrestling. That what they're just hoping everything gets by on vibes and aura and okay, we got the entrance. You could sing along to the theme song. You could do the dance. You could do this. You pop for the finisher. You could be on your phone for the rest of the match. Who cares? And they do. That is the kind of what the audience is reacting to. But I think that can only go so far. You could only be so much sizzle without steak. You got to eat something. And especially it's WrestleMania time because you're going to get back all the casual fans. I am not a WWE guy anymore, but I respect it. I watch the big four pay-per-views. So all of a sudden, I watch the build to Mania. From Rumble to Mania, I will tune in more often because I want to see what it is. There are matches here that could be good, but I don't think we're getting them. Like I look at Rollins, Reigns, and Punk in a three-way. At the Rumble, those guys wanted to murder each other. And I'm like, great. That's a great match. And that's the perfect match to pair with with Jay and Gunther. Had those two on the same card. You buoy each other, make it a co-main event, right? Because you could tell me those guys don't want to be in a main event. Like, you do that, and then it's Cody versus Cena. That's where I thought they were going with that. And I'm like, okay, those are two good WrestleMania main events. But now, I don't know what anyone's doing. Like,
right? Because now they're teasing Punk and Punk and Logan Paul.
Oh
no.
Yeah, I mean they are, but I mean,
they are. They are.
Is that what were they teasing that, or was that just simply because of the Elimination Chamber?
Oh, good point.
That's a good point, but normally the pattern has been if there's issues before the chamber, then there's going to be issues after.
I don't see anything coming in that one. I think that
your lips to God's ears.
I don't see anything coming with that one, man. I think honestly, listen, the fact that last year, like you said, they propped him up, that good PR term for Triple H, they propped him up. Stephanie came out there, all this shit. This was his, this is like pretty much he kind of erased Vince McMahon from existence. Like McMahon didn't have anything to do with this. And I'm like, bro, McMahon built this whole damn thing. You just got lucky. It's pretty much what it is, man. You're lucky, and so they decide they want to get rid of your ass. Don't forget that. You know what I mean? Nobody's safe. And all the stories you're hearing about WWE right now, the morale is not there. I mean, they're making world, profits and shit, big time profits, but the morale is low. People feel like they're not getting paid properly. It's a lot of shit going on over there. You know what I mean? And I think this would be the time where if you're AEW, step your shit up, man. Step up your game, step up creative. You know that they're not doing very well. The excitement's not there. I thought that MJF Heyman promo last week was garbage. That shit was.
I'll disagree with that. The stuff they did this week too was pretty damn good. I tell you what, when I look at AEW, all of a sudden they're the wrestling company, and they're not. They're leaning into everything that people have been wanting to. Like tag team wrestling means something. Trios means something. Tonight's episode, I mean, even the Death Rider stuff is going off, especially when they added Willow Nightingale at the end, and I might have jumped out of my seat at that point.
Wait. Willow Nightingale joined the Death Riders?
No. She exacted some revenge.
Oh, okay.
In a very, very good way.
That was good. That was
some good stuff. Yeah, there's good stuff, and Collision's been solid. They're building new guys and gals, and it's becoming AEW. The worst thing anyone ever told them to do was be a challenger brand, because they're like, oh, we'll challenge WWE by getting the market share and being like WWE. It's like, no, be the alternative. Be like Paul Heyman said in the UCW documentary. Everything was hair metal, and then Nirvana came over and put everything on its head. Don't worry about what they're doing. Be the alternative, and people will go back there and they will love it for what it is, the alternative, and not a light version of WWE.
Yeah, and let's just keep it 1,000 here. Okay, so the fans sing the songs. Whoop-de-doo. We're singing songs back in ECW days. Remember that? So
yeah,
I this is nothing new. I mean, literally now it's just like, okay, let's spend the mortgage money to go see the WWE. And let's take a second out on WrestleMania tickets or some shit, and let's go there just to go sing a damn song and leave.
I know people who've done it firsthand. As someone who was an AEW fan, one of my writers, she was like, "Hey, I went to Mania in Philly. She lives in Philly." I'm like, "Oh, really?" And she's like, "Yeah, I really wanted to do the Yeet." And I'm like, I'm like, you, dude, you could pay me to do that. Like just being freezing my ass off of Philly just to do that. And that match, woof. Less we say, the better.
But that speaks to the whole of it, right? So the buildup itself, and we've said this too. By now, we know what to expect from Mania, and it's March almost. We're 2 days away from March,
I know.
and we have no clue. We have no clue what Mania looks like. It's not complete.
No.
That's a
Vince
problem.
Vince knew what Mania looked like the year before,
day after Mania.
Yeah, he knew it. Like they had a plan, and it's like what and just that's what I'm talking about, man. When it's like The Rock, when he comes out there and legitimately says, "Yeah, I'll come in and do what I want." He's fucking that's a shoot. He will come in and do what he wants, and that's not good because it's like, dude, when was the last time before the Raw on Netflix? When was the last time we saw The Rock? It was Bad Blood in Atlanta. He came out there. He did the throats, he did that thing. And we're okay, what's going on here? Like, is he going after Roman? Nothing came of it. Then he comes out as a babyface. Then he comes out in NXT as a babyface. Now he's back and he's like, I want your soul. What, dude? What?
He came up with that on the car ride over, for sure.
Yeah, like, yeah, he had to. And it's Brian, and it's like, oh my God. Nothing against the guy. Nothing against the guy.
The one thing he said during that promo that, and this may have been a shoot too, that I was like, he really means that, is Cody took that Roman Reigns match away from him.
He did.
He did not forget about that.
Oh, no. He did that.
He did not forget about that at all. And that's the sentiment. And it's like, to me, what it reads is, I'm going to fuck this up for you because you fucked my matchup. So here, take what I'm about to give you. This is a receipt, pretty much.
I just don't know why. They just don't do Rock and Roman. Just get it over with.
It's too late.
It's never too late. It's never too late. He should have wrestled last year.
So how are we gonna get there? It's almost March. You got a month. Well,
all he has to do is say this: Roman Reigns, I'm the High Chief. You've got the Ulufatu. Guess what? We're going to prove in Vegas who the number one in this family is. And then everyone's going to shit their pants. It's a collective. And people are going to be like, yes, best WrestleMania ever. That's what's going to happen. They could do that. They could do that the night before on SmackDown. And everyone's like, I think that would happen.
You know what's funny? Honestly, tell me what you guys think about this. I would have gone Cody versus Roman one more time in Las Vegas. But the outcome would have been Cody turning heel, selling his soul to The Rock. That would have been the outcome. It would have been like, because remember, Austin and The Rock did that. Back in the day, they did that. So Roman's you could have done that again. Was that?
No, Roman's not in the chamber.
He's not in the chamber. Okay.
No. So you could have done that. You could have had that, and that would have been The Rock getting his revenge on Roman Reigns for you losing last year at WrestleMania. I gave it to you on a silver platter. Bloodline rules, right?
Yep.
I gave it to you, and that could have been. And I still say Cody could have been the one to lead the Bloodline.
It
makes sense.
Kelvin,
they got another IP over there they own that's called, I don't know, NWO, but
Oh my God.
Only
if Big Kev comes out and just says whatever the hell he wants.
Oh, he probably would. He would.
I never forget. I was at a WrestleCon one year in Jersey. I think it was 2013. And Kevin Nash, he walked past me. He's wearing like velour sweatpants. He is the size of a mountain. And someone's like, "Don't pull your quads out while walking out." And he just and Nash looked at him. I've never seen someone want to actually commit murder in real life. He's just like, "What did you say, you effing virgin?" And I was just like, only Kevin Nash would go right for that. And I was just like, good for you, Kev. Good for you. And then he looked at me. I'm like, hey, I'm sorry, man. That guy's
it ain't
you know what? Kevin has said on his podcast that he would be interested in coming back.
Of course he would.
If they did the NWO. Because they asked him several times, who would he put in it? I still say they listen. They can make money off that fucking off that NWO thing. They could be making money with that. I mean, they are making money, but they could still be making money off the NWO angle. Especially now, Vince was never going to push it. Trips would push it. Trips would push anything that's not his creation. He'll push it. No problem.
Yeah, true.
I agree.
True.
But are you serious that Ricky Saints has the same kind of music that he had in AEW?
Oh yeah, yes.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God, I hated that music.
It's the remix to Ignition version, man. It's not good. It's not good. And it's the same presentation all the way.
But what kills me is he had different music before he debuted. He had a different entrance, and then when he actually debuted to wrestle, they brought out the remix to his AEW.
Yeah, it's like but no one watches. No one from WWE watches AEW. They have
no one knows what that is.
It
popped hard when he came out, but
no one chanted Tony fumbled, and what a time to make a joke on commentary to be like, Tony fumbled. Who are they talking about? Like, some guy from Jacksonville. Who knows?
Yeah.
Would have worked, guys.
Yeah, but. Speaking of AEW, let's move on because we got some rumors we need to address with them too.
Let's do it. You mean like AJ Styles is coming in? It's going to be awesome.
Oh, good one. Good one. So there was a picture posted by the Young Bucks to their IG, which shows the original Bullet Club member. Well, not original because Finn Balor wasn't there. But AJ Styles and Luke Gallows and the Machine Gun.
Was Bad Luck Fale in there?
No, he was not.
Oh, what a bummer.
He was not. But there was a picture of all of those guys, and the rumors started swirling. I don't think AJ's contract's running out anytime soon.
No, the rumors about Anderson Gallows going in there. That's what it is.
I thought AJ's contract ended like late this year, early next year. Because if that's the case,
I don't know. But I know he is on record saying that this was his last contract.
Yeah.
And Terry Funk retired in 1984. And I saw him wrestling in 2002 at the Portuguese American Club in Warren, New Jersey.
Fair point.
I think that I honestly think that AJ is probably a lifer at WWE at this point. I don't see him going to AEW. I really don't.
Yeah.
Unless he's real pissed off that these two guys got released, that he would, because he was pissed off they got fired last time.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, what is left for AJ to do? At WWE anyway.
No, I was gonna say in AEW. No, he's not much, man. I mean, like at most, I see him if he even makes the WrestleMania card this year, which is a sad thing for me to say. Would he be a good opponent for Logan Paul? I think so. It'd hurt me in my soul to say that, but I mean, I could also see him not on the card. He got a big pop at the Rumble, but I don't know, man. I don't know if they have anything for him.
And I'm gonna go back to NXT. I know it wouldn't happen, him going to NXT, but their relationship with TNA is an opportunity. They have the opportunity to do something with him with that. I don't know if he's up for that, but it would be really cool to see him work with them again.
He was at a TNA taping not long ago when he was hurt.
Yeah, I think he'd be down for that. I think, honestly, let me tell you something. Me personally, I kind of like more of what I'm seeing going on at NXT right now because of the relationship with TNA than I see on the main roster. Just keeping it 1,000. I'm enjoying that a little bit more. I mean, look at the Hardy Boys. My God. I mean, that pop was crazy. And that match was kind of like these dudes were doing like a tryout or something. Trying to, look at how Jeff Hardy was out there. Jeff Hardy was clear. If you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Going out there doing his thing. You know what I mean? And they're already talking about they want to bring them two guys to the main roster.
They made them shirts already.
I know. I saw that.
I mean, those guys were just biding their time regardless, even before that. That it was going to happen. They were going back. I was surprised they didn't show up in the Rumble, to be honest, one of them.
Me too. And when I interviewed them, I wanted to ask them that.
I know. It's hard not to, man. You're like, so
It's
you're gonna
hard.
be the Rumble?
It's really hard, but I'm glad to see them back in any capacity with WWE. But what they did on NXT was it was cool to see. It was really cool to see. But let's address a rumor. There is a rumor floating out there that Shane McMahon and Tony Khan had a meeting, which we know about. And in that meeting, it was discussed that Shane McMahon wanted to run AEW. And then after that meeting, Shane McMahon was ghosted. Bill. True or false?
Smartest move Tony Khan ever made.
Wow.
Well, because the part of it was he wanted to run the show, he wanted ownership, he wanted to run the whole thing, and really didn't have much knowledge of AEW. So I'm just like, that's like saying, hey, Bill Bodkin, or no, hey, Oliver Stone, famed director of Platoon, go run Lucasfilm. I mean, he's made movies, but he probably doesn't watch a lot of Star Wars. You know what I mean? It doesn't make a lot of sense. And Shane hasn't exactly been a bastion of creativity, I say. Like, and I think it was the right move not to do that. And I honestly think if you're going to alienate a fan base who, at the time when this happened last summer, who was plenty burned out and pissed off at AEW, to bring a McMahon in, I think that would have alienated a lot of people. Him showing up in a cameo, no. Maybe it would have pissed some people off, but it wouldn't have been as like, well, Shane's going to run the show, and I think people have been like, bye.
And that's an interesting point.
I think Shane McMahon, thinking about this, my answer would have been different, but I actually thought about this today. I think Shane McMahon was basically bullshitting.
Oh, yeah.
Khan. I think it was
fuck
the
you.
Paul Heyman. Yeah, it's the Paul Heyman to Dixie Carter. You know, I'm going to ask for all this shit, and he's going to say no, and that's going to be the end of it. I just want to, put it. I can at least tell Mercedes, hey, I met with him.
Yeah,
that's what I think.
Interesting. That I don't think it would have been a fit right then, but if you look at some of the things that were done, for instance, the Death Rider angle, I think they might have been maneuvering for something to happen, and it just never got off the ground.
Well,
they've can't. Yeah, somebody came out and said that was never the plan for Death Riders. Like he
really?
was never going to be. Yeah, that was never going to be Shane McMahon. That was some damn rumor that got started or whatever, but it was never going to be Shane McMahon involved in that.
Yeah,
that's
true.
Interesting. So for me, that's what I took out of it. They were maneuvering stuff.
Makes sense.
Yeah, it did. Looking at that rumor and what they were doing around that time, it did kind of make sense. But now that you say that, I'll take that back off the table.
It sounds like a great idea, though. I mean, at the time, it did. I mean, it would make perfect sense. Why? Like, who's forcing Moxley to do this? It's kind of like, who put Solo up to being the tribal chief? We never got an answer to that, did we? I think it would have been the final boss. But hey, what
True. Some things. What if? We'll save that point for later. But another rumor is Vince McMahon. It came out that he was actually trying to start his own wrestling company, and he was in talks with Fox. That's been dispelled as a rumor.
Right. Yeah. Fox doesn't know what the hell they're talking about. And it never made sense to me to begin with that, okay, Fox had arguably the biggest sports entertainment company in the world. And I say sports entertainment because they don't know what they are. One moment they're saying that we're professional wrestling. Then next minute they're saying the longest running sports entertainment show. That's what Michael Cole just said on Monday night with Raw. So they don't know what the hell they want to be. They don't know if they want to be sports entertainment or if they want to be wrestling. AEW is wrestling. TNA is wrestling. WWE, just sports entertainment. So they had the biggest sports entertainment show, which is SmackDown, on their network, and they didn't get the numbers they wanted, so they got rid of it. So why would they then come back to the same guy who was running the show when they got the deal originally and say, hey, we want to go ahead and start with you, even though you got 2 pending lawsuits against you for some bullshit. We're going to go into business with you. We're going to start this wrestling company, which you're going to have no talent because all the talent are at either WWE, they're at AEW. That's where all the talent are. So what do you got to offer here? So I don't believe Vince McMahon is going to start up another wrestling company. I don't. It's going to be whatever he's doing. It's going to be some kind of entertainment company. Knowing what we know about the lawsuits, probably some porn company he's going to start. But that's pretty much it. Yeah.
Oh
Man, I wasn't expecting that one on a Wednesday night.
Yeah, that's how we do it here.
Oh man. I think so. One of the reasons I had read what they had gotten, why SmackDown got the axe, was because, not unlike what you were saying about the Acolyte, expensive, didn't get the viewership for the amount of money they spent in there. Vince McMahon is not going to command that. I thought it would have been a perfect one for a streamer like a Fox Nation, where they need something like that, especially if you're going to do it small first. But then again, you could go to a Paramount network too, because I think there is. And Paramount Plus, they are dying. They are desperate
They need
for
the
content.
content.
They need the content.
Yeah.
They say they're a mountain of content. Maybe not. But it's like Vince McMahon, if he wanted to, I think could get on TV. He's got 40 years in television industry, entertainment world. And you know what? One of those lawsuits is going, one of those trials is going away, thanks to a friend of his in the office. And there are people. Kelvin, I'll throw it to you. Do you think there would be people who would jump to a Vince McMahon promotion that say it started in
Hell yeah.
2026?
Hell yeah. I can think about 5 of them right now.
Hit me.
Undertaker, Bully Ray, Mark Henry. You can get John Laurinaitis back in there, and what's his nuts?
It's a broad spectrum.
No, he's at WWE right now, but
Michael Hayes,
he go too.
But what do you think about active wrestlers?
Active wrestlers, I would say anybody, because Triple H. Well, the people that are there now are Triple H guys, so you'd probably have to look indies. You got Baron Corbin out there that could help bring up some younger talent. But other than that, I'm pretty sure people would jump at the opportunity to work with him because it's Vince McMahon.
Brock Lesnar. I think you go Brock Lesnar, Jake Hager. I think Jericho's contract is up. That wouldn't shock me if he went there. Then, unfortunately, I even hate the fact I say, but I got to take my heart out of my chest and put it on my desk and dispassionately look at it and say, he would probably lean into the current political climate like he has throughout his run. It was very Americana in the 80s. It was very Howard Stern and anti-PC in the 90s. So you lean more into, sort of a MAGA America First type vibe. And you get a lot of the guys who were quote unquote canceled from the wrestling world who are not signed, like a Marty Scurll. Or you could Flip Gordon from Mexico to come back and be an All-American, wrestler. Lacey Evans, people like that. I think that's where you lean and go into. And I think he'd had a moderate success, honestly. Would I watch it? Probably not.
What about you,
Marty Scurll got canceled for some other stuff,
I know. But
that water's really murky though.
Yeah. So here's the thing about it. I get the whole thing, like, trying to shit on Vince or nothing, but I mean, just the way the world works today, even with Trump in office, just certain things you just don't do. Like, you just look at Diddy. You know what I mean? Like, he's still, you know what I'm saying?
Fair point.
I don't see people, even with Vince McMahon's reputation or whatever, I don't see people clamoring to go say, okay, I'm going to go work for Vince McMahon, because you hear all the horror stories about the WWE.
I agree.
And you hear all the stuff and it's just like, I don't think fans today are going to support a McMahon project, because that's one of the reasons why the resurgence of the WWE is because they know he was gone. You know what I mean? But I mean,
that's true too.
That's the thing about it. I don't see it happening. This Janelle Grant situation just really kind of screwed him with a lot of stuff, because especially and he has to, Vince. See, the thing about it, because Vince has done a lot of shady shit over the years. You know what I mean? You just hear the stories about wrestlers that
And
he
he
didn't take
don't
care of.
apologize.
He don't apologize. The Kamalas that he screwed over. All these different people that got messed over, and the way Vince handled a lot of stuff. I'm just you're not clamoring to go work for. I mean, if it was me and they say, okay, who do you want to work? Who do you want to work for? I'm gonna work for fucking Tony Khan.
Yeah,
Because at least I know. I mean, you know what to expect with him. With this guy over here, do I want to be having somebody in my ear yelling at me on a headset? You know what I mean? Look at Michael Cole. You hear the stories Michael Cole tells in the interview. Michael Cole says, I'm never going to talk bad about Vince McMahon. He'll never talk bad about him because he gave him his spot. But you hear the horror stories of him yelling in people's ears. And just who wants to work in this type of environment?
Yeah, that's true too.
No, I agree with you. I don't want it to personally happen. I'm just saying, like, I could see it happening, and like it's sad, but I mean, there's also people who want, they look at where they are and they'll say, well, I'll take a payday. How many people have we heard? Oh, Vince screwed him over, and then they go back. I mean, the options suck, but hey, if AEW's not signing you, WWE's not signing you. You want to make a decent coin and be on TV.
Here's the thing, though. Okay, so let's look at that for a second. What you just said. How many people said that Vince screwed them over and they went back? Okay, you got to remember, a lot of those guys, they came back after WCW went out.
Yeah,
so that's why that's the only reason they came back in there. That's why Vince will use. See, that's the thing about Vince. Vince will use you if he can make a dollar off of you. He'll no problem. Look how many times he worked with Hogan again after all the bad blood there. So he'll use you if he can make a dollar. It's just a mere fact of like, okay, who would show up in this? Let's just hypothetically say Vince McMahon starts a new company, right? Okay, who's going to show up in this new company? Would it be Steve Austin? Could you get a Steve Austin to show up there? I know. The funny thing about it, Austin hasn't done shit with WWE since this new
since '38.
Yeah, since this new regime has come in, he hasn't done a damn thing.
Rumor was they offered him that spot the Undertaker was in, and he said,
right.
Yeah.
And he was supposed to do something. Recently, I think they said he was supposed to do something. It didn't work out. So what's really going on here with Austin? I mean, is Austin a McMahon loyalist? I mean,
could be.
I mean, the only thing I can see happening here, honestly, and it will never happen. I could see Vince attempting to buy AEW. That's the only way I can see him getting back to the game.
That could have been why Shane was there in the first place.
Hey, that's it. Damn right. That could have been why Shane was there. Shane could have been. He could have sent Shane there as a feeler to see what it is. You know what I mean? That's damn right, because it's established. It's on the Turner Networks. It's an established brand. Whether people like it or not, it's an established brand. They have an audience, so you can build upon that foundation. And I think that's where kind of like a Shane McMahon could have fit in there, helping build that foundation.
Yeah, most definitely. So let's close out the show strong. We got one more topic to cover, and that's our 3 what ifs. So Bill, I'm gonna give you the floor.
All right, man.
We can start with you.
So my first wrestling what if, I'm gonna take it to 2018, and what if the Elite had decided to sign with WWE? Remember, they were I've read the Young Bucks book, you listen to them talking, they were in constant contact with Triple H, all of them. Kenny, the Bucks, Hangman, Cody. Cody was very, very much leaning towards that. And I just wonder what you guys think. What would have happened? I know Jericho was going to go there. He said there, no matter what, Jericho was going to go there. But do you think AEW is what it is today without the Elite? And how do you think WWE changes with the Elite in there? So I pose that to you guys.
Oh, I'm gonna give you that one first, D.
I can't see it. I don't see that, because here's the thing. It was still kind of the land of the giants over there, and I don't see a team coming in. I mean, the Young Bucks would have got lost in the shuffle like the Usos did for a long time there. The Usos didn't really get back until they changed it up. Without the Elite, AEW wouldn't exist.
It would have been the world's best wrestling. That's what it would have been called originally. And Matt Jackson was the one who said, why don't we call it All Elite Wrestling?
Yeah.
For All In and being the Elite. because the original deal was they were gonna keep BTE going. It was going to be a split profit between them and WWE, and and some of those guys were going to be in NXT but get paid main roster salaries. That was the big thing. So I think you could have done some if they went. I don't think AEW ever gets off the ground.
No.
I think Kenny Omega, if we're saying by this time, would have been a world champion in somehow, some way, because Paul Heyman was a big Kenny Omega guy. There was a story that came out not long ago that, Heyman was offered the book and they said, "Who do you want?" And he's like, "I want Kenny Omega." They couldn't get him. So he's like, "Oh, guess I can't book him." Young Bucks would have had a hell of a run in the tag team division at NXT, and I agree with you, D. When that day called, when they came up, they would have had a cup of coffee with the tag titles.
Yep.
They would have lost them, and they would be released and probably the TNA tag team champions at this point.
Absolutely.
Hangman is the interesting one because I think he would have been a top guy in NXT, and I think he probably would still be there in NXT, and NXT would be their third brand. And Cody would not be Cody. Cody would be where the Miz is.
I gotta agree with you on that. I don't see
agree
these
with that
guys.
too.
I think it would have been all elite in NXT, and I don't see them doing nothing with them on the main roster. I see them getting buried on the main roster. That's kind of because you hear the stories that Vince would intentionally bury any of Hunter's guys that would come to the main roster because he was very jealous of what they were doing in NXT because it wasn't nothing to do with him. So I don't think I just that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm glad things happened the way they did, and these guys made the decision to help start this thing. I just wish that AEW could get to that next level. I wish that they could do that. I wish that they could get to the level, honestly, that WCW got to. You know what I mean? That's what I want for AEW. I want them to go to that upper echelon where it's not a meme. It's not a laughing situation. It's like, damn, when you try to enjoy the product and you just see people just laugh emojis all the time about anything that they do. And it's like, well, damn if you do, damn if you don't. You know what I mean? That's kind of where it is. So that's what I'm saying. Like, I want Tony to get better creatively and tell better stories and do a lot more. Just make it, and especially the production value, you got to rise up, bro. Like, WB has a damn drone flying around the building. You know what I'm saying? Like, just change it up a little bit. That's kind of what I want to see. Just, you got the thing with wrestling, dude, is you can have the worst show in the world, but if you have it looking bigger than life, people will say, "Oh, I got to go to see that shit."
Yeah,
because
I've seen Raw on Netflix, so I know what you mean.
yeah, most definitely.
But I think their strategy right now of running the smaller venues, all of a sudden you feel that vibe. I was at the Hammerstein shows. Oh, I was at one of the Hammerstein shows. I was at the Dynamite one. Oh, it brought me back 20 some odd years to the final ECW arena show. ECW show at the ECW arena.
Yeah,
just the vibes were immaculate. And it was people who wanted to watch wrestling. They're throwing toilet paper at Ricochet, chanting that they're chanting he's bald. People popping like crazy and who's those guys? Brody King, Will Ospreay, Shelton Benjamin, all these guys, and people just like really hitting it. And I think that set the tempo because you see these cool, unique venues. And that's what I used to love about WCW and all these other companies. And you're seeing that vibe kind of return. I think they might be turning a corner.
Yeah, I agree with you there because, and even tonight, I was looking at the presentation that they had tonight. That smaller venue, the string of shows that they've been doing in these venues, especially the one last week where you just pan the camera out and there's just like a sea of people, and you can't tell that it's a small venue. It just looks packed, and it looks really well.
Rabid.
Yeah, it looks really good on TV. So. I like what they're doing with the venues. I want to see them continue that. And as far as creatively, I do think they're turning a corner creatively.
Yeah, I think you got to stop listening to people who used to work for Vince and start thinking differently.
Agreed.
All right. Well, I'll
go ahead.
Post a Million podcast. No. Kelvin, I'm going to toss to you. What's your wrestling what if?
My first wrestling what if is what if Scott Hall and Kevin Nash never went to WCW.
Oh, you son of a bitch.
Because we know Scott Hall leaving and going to WCW was a linchpin that got WCW, more attention got drawn to them. With Kevin Nash, it just upped the ante, and then you get to the point to where you get the NWO with Hulk Hogan turning. You get Hulk Hogan turning, changes the wrestling industry. And that's another what if in itself. What if it was actually Sting and not Hulk Hogan? But you get Hulk Hogan. Turns the wrestling industry on its head, changes the course of history. But what happens if Scott Hall and Kevin Nash decide to actually stay in WWF at that time?
That's a very interesting thing there. I think that if that happens, I don't think Hogan ever turns. I think Hogan continues on with Hulkamania. I don't.
What happens to WCW? Because
I think they're still around. I think they're
Okay.
still around. Yeah, I think they're still around. You just don't have the NWO. I do think that eventually you do have the DDP, you do have the Goldberg. I think all that stuff still happens. I think you do still have Bret Hart come over. Because here's the thing. One of the big things that happened that people don't talk about is well, why did Hall and Nash leave to begin with? I know we're saying what if they didn't, leave, but they left because of money. Vince was the money wasn't there. So I mean, they were always gonna go because of the money. So that's a strange situation though, dude. Like, damn. Like what the business wouldn't be the same without that NWO thing. Because that changed
No.
that opened the doors for a lot of shit.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't think you get Austin 316. I don't think you get The Rock. I don't think you get lovable Mick Foley. I think a lot of the stars you would have had during the Attitude Era do not exist. I don't think you get the New Age Outlaws. I don't think you get D-Generation X.
Yeah, because
I
you
don't
get
think-
the click.
You get the click, and boy, that would have been annoying. But it would just like, I just don't see them. I think Austin would have been the ringmaster and eventually would have been let go and have gone back to ECW. Mankind would have been just that mid-card heel. And I don't know if The Rock never becomes The Rock, because when all those people left, Vince was like, let's just throw it all against the wall and see what sticks. He got desperate. Let's see what happens. If Hall and Nash stay, does he really need to get desperate? I don't think
He
does.
has no reason to get desperate. No, because
No.
that was the entire catalyst is that, and it's kind of funny because
That's a
Vince
good
was
one,
trying
Cody.
to stop the NWO before it even happened.
Yeah.
He was sending letters down there trying to get restraining orders from Hall and Nash even appearing at Bash at the Beach to even do the match. So it's like Bill's saying here. There would be no reason to turn the product into the actor. There's no reason to do any of that because he would have been so complacent to not change nothing, because WCW, they're still doing the Dungeon of Doom and all that. I still think, I think all this stuff happens. The Dungeon of Doom and all that still happens. You just don't have Razor and Diesel down there.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? That's the thing. And I don't think we see Kane. I don't think we see the Nation of Domination. None of this stuff happens. There's no reason for it to happen. Now here's one. Out of those two guys, though, Hall and Nash, let's just put it like this. Out of the clique, let's just say, who gets pissed off enough and says, okay, the hell with this, and actually goes to WCW? Who's the first guy?
Shawn Michaels.
I agree, Shawn.
I agree with that too.
Shawn Michaels would have left.
Oh yeah.
And Bret Hart doesn't leave.
Yeah, Bret
Hard
doesn't
to-
leave. Shawn leaves.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. And
then
that's what would have changed.
And they essentially would have been AEW, because they would have been the work rate company, because it would have been Shawn and Rick Shawn would have been going against Rick, Sting, Luger. You're going to have all the luchadors and all the New Japan guys. Those are still coming over. Eric Bischoff proudly stole all those ideas from other people. And I think that's what you have. I think Shawn Michaels is the guy.
Guerrero.
Yeah, all those guys are still there.
Yep.
Yep.
I think Raven, I think he just Sean is the guy, and he becomes the face of WCW, and it becomes the work rate company, while WWF stays Cartoonland. Maybe they lean into some of the Howard Stern stuff because of Hunter and Kev and them, but not to the degree what we got.
Yeah.
I don't think ECW ever works with WWE. I think WCW and Paul Heyman end up working together.
It's a good one. D, what you got?
Oh.
What's your first one?
First one. What if WCW never goes out of business? Where is WCW in 2025? Where are they at? That's the thing. So let's just say that everything happens the way it does. TKO comes in. They buy WWE. Where does Vince go? Vince goes down south to WCW. That's where Vince goes, I think. I think that WCW is in such desperate trouble. Vince McMahon comes in to WCW. That's what I think happens. I think that Vince goes there. I think that we see some WWE guys that don't currently like the situation, and they go to WCW. I think we could see Undertaker down there. I think
First place ever saw him.
Vince, yeah, me and Mark. I think we can see a lot of these guys that have an issue with the current regime. I think they go to WCW. That's what I think happens. I always think about that. Like, what if that never happens? Because Vince got so complacent when he bought it. He got so complacent in no competition. And TNA came along, but I think TNA in the beginning was good. I thought in their first shows they did in Nashville, those were good shows. I like Sports Entertainment Extreme. I thought it was a good shit, man. I like that. But same thing happens. Like, what if ECW never went out of business?
Oh, oh man, don't. The guy who was going to sit outside the Hammerstein Ballroom and ask Paul Heyman for a job when he was in college. This guy.
Yeah. He would have gave it to you. You would have worked for free.
I would have been Gabe Smolsky. Except more hair. But I know WCW. I think so if everything goes the same except WCW stays and let's say Fusion buys them, which was my second one. And Eric Bischoff is running it. Joey Styles was going. He was going to be their lead commentator. Carino was going. So a lot of ECW guys were going to WCW.
Yeah.
So you would have seen that. You never get TNA. You get those guys who were the cornerstones of the X division. Some of them were already working for WCW, like AJ Styles.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so you would have seen all those dudes. I think Jeff Jarrett would have ended up with creative with Vince Russo. And I think a lot of stuff that you saw just changed the letters TNA to WCW. I really think that. And I think Ring of Honor, then it still exists, but I think that becomes this hot. I don't think that company lasts though, because it becomes this fertile crescent for WWE and WCW just to pick out talent. I think maybe they run 10 years at most.
Or it becomes a developmental like FCW did.
You know what's funny though? The fact that TNA and Ring of Honor started around the same time is very. It's always been interesting to me that they came around the same time.
I was there at those Murphy Rec Center days for Ring of Honor. It was good times.
Yeah.
Oh man, but I think it would go through some lean times. But I do think they evolve. I think the X division basically happens there. They have that resurgence of the cruiserweight division. I think the women's the knockouts division essentially happens in WCW because how many WCW people were in TNA doing that stuff? I think a lot of that happens, and I think it's now a hybrid of AEW and TNA, essentially what that roster looks like.
I think they could have done it. I think that they just didn't have enough time to do it. I mean, they were trying to turn the project around, but then, we all know what happened. Jamie Conner comes in and cancels the programming. I think that they could have done it. I honestly think that if there had been a scenario, and this is the reason why I'm saying this now, because it's a never say never situation. I think even as much as Vince hated Turner, I think if the opportunity came up, he would go down there. And the reason why is something he said to Eric Bischoff. He says, I would hope that if you had won and I wanted to stay in the business, you would hire me at WCW. You would bring me in. So I think that's the thing where Vince would have went to WCW. I think he would have gone down there, especially if some shit happened where he lost control of WWE, which I was kind of found it funny that, he never passed this on to his son. He was just so damn hell-bent on selling the damn company. It's crazy shit to me. But,
it's because of what his dad did to him. Vince didn't get WWF. He had to take it.
Oh, I understand. But karma's a bitch.
Oh, yeah, most definitely.
Yeah. So that's only what if I have always wondered what that means. All the other what ifs, like what if there was no Stone Cold Steve Austin? Like Bill said, he's the ringmaster still. Mick Foley's not having a nice day yet. You know what I mean? It's a lot of stuff there. I mean, I don't know. I mean, we could do a whole damn podcast about what ifs.
Yeah. Very
I
much.
think that was the original idea.
It was.
It was.
It was. Like it's gonna be simple. We just gonna do all what ifs. But Bill, what's your number 2?
Well, it was what if Fusion was allowed to buy WCW. I'm going to go with a kind of a niche one here. What if Mr. Anderson never hurts Randy Orton, and he is revealed to be Vince McMahon's son instead of Hornswoggle? Think about the trajectory. It's always interesting. That's a what if to me. Like, man, if he had not done that, and then also gone on that talk show and completely buried himself,
yeah,
would he have been a main event guy?
Absolutely.
Because he was not that for TNA. They tried to make it in TNA. It did not work.
I don't see him as a main event guy.
He was on his dude.
I see him as upper mid. That's it. I don't see him as a main event guy. Like he's not a guy that's headlining WrestleMania. No, not at all.
That guy was on his way. He was on his way.
How many guys have we seen that were on their way though?
Instantly though.
Yeah, but how many guys have we seen that were on their way and they're right there and they don't make it?
That's true too. But in fairness to him, he wasn't given that opportunity. It got snatched really quick.
Yeah.
Well, when you go on a TV show and you lie about taking steroids, I mean, then it comes out that you had done it.
He did it to himself.
And then you're in there hurting wrestlers, and one of those guys happened to be Randy Orton. I mean, that kind of you're kind of screwed there. And I mean, and what I'm saying is, we kind of saw what they did with him at TNA, the whole asshole gimmick and all that. That was just cringe, man.
True.
He's a guy. The guy is honestly, like I just said. I mean, it's one of those guys again where you have the entrance. The entrance was unique. Okay, outside of the entrance, the bell rings.
That's true too.
Not knocking the guy. It's just we're going on what. I don't see it. I don't see him like, oh my God, I gotta tune in to SmackDown to see Mr. Kennedy in action. No.
Okay, fair point.
Well, people can say the same thing. I'm pretty sure there's people that didn't think Eddie Guerrero was a main eventer either. People didn't think Benoit was a main eventer. There's still people to this day that still think that they weren't main eventers. And I'm like, dude, are you watching the same show I was watching? Because Eddie Guerrero was over as shit. Chris Benoit was over as shit.
Yeah, they were.
Some of the best workers you had in the business. And I heard Scott Hall, not RIP Scott Hall, but Scott Hall says some stupid shit. And he says, "Oh, those guys left, man. Nobody noticed." Oh, they did. We did notice when they left. We sure the fuck did notice when they left WCW. Yeah, we noticed.
They made sure they saw it.
Yeah. We damn sure knew that when they, because you see the quality of the matches went down as soon as the Radicals left.
Yeah.
The quality was shit.
Yep.
You don't want to. I don't mean to.
It was only Billy Kidman and his jorts working there, man.
It was.
Yep.
Let me tell you this. Another one real quick. What ifs? If I can go with this one right quick.
Go ahead.
What if Shane Douglas actually got over in WCW because Shane Douglas had been a main eventer and became the WCW World Champion?
Which time?
His last run he did there as a franchise. New blood.
I'm a big Shane Douglas fan too.
Yeah.
I think one of the things was he was so physically compromised. I think that was an issue for sure.
Yeah.
But I think he could have. Well, I mean, that whole New Blood Millionaires Club angle was done backwards, but it was.
Right.
I think the time had just his window had just passed. I think if he had left ECW, if he had gone to maybe WCW instead of WWF, when he did instead of the Dean Douglas thing, I think he might have gotten more over. I think that was the time because that was peak franchise, and then putting him and Pillman together, like loose cannon and the franchise, like those two dudes. That's a combustible element that really would have worked well on TV.
Yeah.
You know what would have stopped that? Ric Flair would have stopped that.
Well, come on, Rick. Have some fun. Well, that's the other thing. They that was another thing they missed out on. I think would have gotten Shane over huge is they tried doing the Shane Douglas Ric Flair thing, and they were both past it. You know what I mean? And they shouldn't. If they had done that 5 years earlier, man, that would have been white hot.
Well, Ric Flair at this time in 2000, it's kind of funny because I'm watching a show right now. It's called Reliving the War. It's on Wrestling Bios on YouTube. So it's going through all this. So we're actually in the New Blood right now. And, it's about Ric, Ric Flair was wrestling in street clothes at this point.
Yeah.
Because he didn't like the way he looked, his body. So he actually just wrestled Shane in the pay-per-view. I think it was, what was the one they just did? Slamboree 2000. He just wrestled Shane Douglas. And I'm like, such a missed opportunity there. Mm-hmm. Just like there was a missed opportunity with Steiner and Flair when Steiner was out there legitimately shooting on Ric Flair. It's just like, my God, dude. Just looking back on this stuff, just like if they would have just got that together, if WCW had been a cohesive unit and everybody had the same mission instead of everybody just being for themselves, if they had had a guy to run the ship, they could have been more successful than what they were. They had a few good years, and that was NWO, and they ran that into the ground.
Oh, did they ever?
Yes, they did.
It was kind of like the Bloodlines.
Oh yeah, it's a Brokeback Mountain. It's a Brokeback Mountain situation, man. They just can't.
Yeah.
Damn. Damn. So my number 2 is what if Mark Jindrak were the fourth member?
Come on. Oh man, well Mexico would have been pissed. That telenovela he was on would have been like, oh, we need a tall, muscular American.
But what if we get Mark Jindrak instead of Batista?
No Guardians of the Galaxy for Batista, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, because that kind of affects pop culture.
Yeah, I don't think Batista is definitely not the star he is today, for sure.
There's a lot you don't get with Batista. You don't get the angle with him and Triple H,
no,
which leads him into being a champion. Which you don't get Eddie Guerrero as champion because that was a result of that.
Yeah.
There's a lot that doesn't happen.
I don't know if I remember when him and O'Hare first came into WCW. I'm like, these guys are amazing. Like the athleticism of them as a tag team.
Hell yeah.
What a missed opportunity by everyone. By WCW, by WWE.
Yep.
They should have been the hottest things. I just don't know if Jindrak had that. I don't know if Jindrak had that charisma. He had the athleticism. He was a really good wrestler. That dropkick is the stuff of legends, man.
Yeah.
Yep.
But I don't think he had the charisma to be the fourth member of Evolution. That's why they give him the boot. Batista does. He's got that quiet charisma a lot of times, but when he gets pissed, he gets pissed. I don't think Mark Jindrak's walking through a pit of danger. I'll be honest with you. I don't think he evolves in. Oh Christ, I said that. I don't think he evolves into the star Batista becomes. I honestly don't. I like him.
That's funny. You bring them up because I remember watching them in WCW. Natural Born Thrillers is what they were.
Yep.
But they brought O'Hare and Palumbo over for the WCW invasion. It completely just jobbed them out. But then they brought Sean O'Hare back, and O'Hare was kind of doing this dark. And I'm like, oh my God, I saw this guy perform. Okay, I was at a taping at Staples Center. It was Monday Night Raw, and he came out there with that gothic gimmick, and the music hit that they dub on the fucking network. But anyways, he came out there, and I'm like, this dude has it. This dude right here, like he had the crowd in the palm of his hands, and that whole thing got squashed because of the Roddy Piper situation. Piper doing that HBO interview that kind of killed O'Hara's push at that point, and he was relegated to Velocity. And it's like you could have done something with him, man. Just like you could have done something with Chris Kane. Chris Kane is one of those unspoken heroes of the wrestling business. I mean, the stuff that guy did. I mean, I watched Kane's
the innovator,
the innovator of everything.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Just come out there. I mean, he did a
Who
lot
better
of work
than
in that
Kane?
Ready to Rumble. Who bet nobody?
Yep.
I mean, that's legit. Like, who's better than Kane?
Yep.
And it's like they did nothing with him. They did nothing with DDP when he came over. Like, God, I mean,
there's lost tapes of Canyon on YouTube in WWE.
Yeah.
I mean, him and DDP were tag champs there.
Yeah.
They won some WCW.
Yeah,
but it was nothing.
No, I'm talking about Canyon as Mortis. So
no,
yeah,
WWE has the Vault channel, so they have they've been releasing all this shit, and I think I sent it to you. It was the Canyon as Mortis on TV, and the crowd popped.
He was over.
He was over. Big. Like, why didn't WWE say, okay, we're gonna push you as Mortis because this is over? We don't push you as Mortis. So
imagine you could have made money on merchandising and figures.
Absolutely.
Alone.
Oh, hell yeah.
Why have we not gone to Chris Canyon's estate to get the rights to Mortis and put him in WWE 2K? At least, something with Mortis. Mortis was I actually liked Mortis in WWE.
Yeah,
I liked him in Wrath with James Vandenberg as the manager, feuding with Glazier and Ernest Miller. That was some good shit. Those were like that was good stuff.
Blood runs cold, man. Blood runs cold.
Yeah.
Oh,
I like Glazier.
Hey, it's an AEW now, so you can check him out.
Bill, what's your number 3?
Oh man, it was a tough one. I was just trying to think. I went a little deep cut on this one. What if going back to old WCW NWA stuff? What if Dusty Rhodes never got fired for taking the spike to the eye from the Road Warriors? That sent him to WWF and kind of sent WCW a little bit that's some really thin times for that company. So that was just one of the few I was just like, I'm pulling at straws here, but I'm curious a bit to see, because I know he was unhappy, but losing Dusty, I think he didn't add much to WWF. I mean, he was the co-main event of my first live wrestling show, but he wasn't a megastar for them. He was there for 2 years. But I think WCW, it hurt them by losing the big guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, because of all the stuff that Dusty was doing creatively behind the scenes, being the booker. I think that's where it hurt them the most with Dusty leaving. I mean, Dusty, people can say whatever they want to say about Dusty. Dusty was very successful in the stuff that Dusty created. Dusty created war games. Dusty did all these different things here, and the legacy is strong, for Dusty Rhodes. And I agree with you. I mean, him going to the WWF, that kind of hurt them somewhat. Because it's kind of like, what did Dusty Rhodes say in that promo when he joined NWO? He said, 1991, corporate America tried to come in here and tear down what I had hoped to build. That was a shoot. Talking about the suits, the CNN center coming in. So, looking back on it, if Dusty hadn't went over to the WWF, I think WCW, because WWF was stale as shit at that point, dude. Like, come on, it was stale.
Oh, history.
That's when I first started watching, man.
Yep.
It's
kind of funny. Everything that I thought was good as a kid, I think now it sucks ass.
Yeah. Yeah, hindsight, bro. Hindsight is always 20. You're like, what the hell?
I even go back to some of the Attitude Era stuff, and I'm like, was there even good wrestling on WWE television during this time? Was it just great promos? It was mostly great promos.
Yes.
Only one out there that was working, that was doing really good stuff, was Owen Hart.
Oh yeah,
Owen Hart was working.
Yep. And
He's not a nugget. Just remember that.
All right. Owen Hart, I mean, Shawn Michaels was putting on some good stuff. Undertaker, I mean, they had some good stuff. But it's just the storytelling was so good.
Yeah.
The storytelling was good because Vince Russo had everybody doing something.
yeah.
That's the thing. It's like now, you don't have that now. We got this person over here, that person over there. We'll push this person this week. Whatever. I'm like, oh my God, dude, you got 3 hours of damn SmackDown. You can't push all these different talents.
So at one, and I think what hurt them really is Raw going to 2 hours.
Oh, going back down. Wait,
yeah, going back to 2 hours because they were at a point to where they were connecting the dots on a lot of stuff. And then Raw goes to 2 hours. You don't have that allotted time, and that was the show that they were starting to push the majority of their stories on. So you take that hour away, and it took time away from people. And taking that time away from people, it low key killed a lot of runs because you didn't have that time. Now they're trying to build it back up because on Netflix you can do what you want
within reason.
Yeah, within reason. So.
Yeah. But are we really clamoring to watch Raw on Netflix?
No, you're not. No. You're not.
No. That's one thing I love about AEW. It's on the Max. I can go watch it,
Yep. So my number 3 is a fairly recent one. And you guys talked about Dusty going to WWF. Let's talk about Cody going to WWE. What happens if Cody Rhodes stays in AEW? And he doesn't leave.
I think I think he has to turn heel. For sure. He turns heel, or at least that's what I would do. I would love to have seen him turn heel and then have a run against the Elite. Have him team up with Max again. I think there's so much money that got left on the table with Cody and AEW, with people he could have feuded with. Adam Cole came in. And I also think there's instability within the locker room that has been felt up to just recently.
Yeah,
that was because of Cody. There's Cody people who were when he was gone. You knew that Ricky Starks and Jade Cargill and probably Ethan Page and others were out the door because he brought him in, and that I think also that left a power vacuum, and that CM Punk allegedly. Inserted himself into and rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. I don't think the Elite was getting along too great because they were very separate for a long time, especially during the pandemic. But I think like Cody had a really good presence there, whereas Punk didn't. And I think Punk still ends up leaving AEW and going back to WWE. But I think Cody, if he had turned heel, just in my opinion, would have made a lot of money for them. And then that babyface turn would have been pretty amazing. And I think he would have stayed there. And I think he would, that WCW level that you were talking about, D, I think that's how they get there, is because of Cody. Cody going to WWE, I mean, we know what happened. They gift wrapped him,
Yeah. I would agree with that. And it'd be interesting to see where they are now, because I've been going back and looking at a lot of AEW since they're on the Max. I've been looking at a lot of their early stuff and even some of the All Access and how Cody was leading a lot of the production meetings. I think that him leaving was it was a giant hole that needed to be filled as a result of him leaving. Similar to Dusty going to WWF. It created this hole that needed to be felt, and they are still recovering from him leaving.
Yeah, because I think it's like the Punk stuff was a direct result of Cody leaving.
Yep.
Because I think Cody could have kept him in check.
Yep.
But I think Punk still ends up leaving.
I think he ends up leaving, but I think he ends up doing business too. I don't think it's as volatile as it ended up being.
I think Punk. I think with CM Punk, I think CM Punk went over there honestly with good intentions. I think that Punk was trying to be that locker room leader over there, similar to having kind of like the locker room that he had in WWE, where they had no leadership. I think that's honestly what it was because you hear the stories of him meeting with JF and Wardlow and a couple other guys and telling them, I'm going to be working with you guys and getting them gift cards and all kind of shit. He was trying to pick his guys is who he wanted to work with. They had these other guys over here, and some of them could be. We don't know the intricacies of all this backstage stuff. We only know what we've heard, and only thing we've heard so far over at WWE is the complete opposite of AEW.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying, and it's like I think a lot of the stuff at AEW kind of got blown out of proportion. I really do. I think that Punk has his way of doing business, and I think another reason why I do agree. I think Punk still leaves. I do. I think he still leaves. I think Cody still leaves.
Cody would definitely have left. Yeah, at some point.
I think at some point I might be on this mountain by myself. I think at some point Cody goes back.
Oh,
I agree.
You're not alone.
I agree with that. No,
I think when this run is over, I think he goes back. I think Cody has some unfinished business over there at AEW that he didn't get. Everybody goes home. Cody is here temporarily at WWE. He's done it. He's got to the mountain. He's the guy. He's got the belt. Okay. He needs a new challenge. What is it? I'm going to go dig this shit out dig this hole that this company's in. And we're going to take it to the next level. Because I've been over here. I've seen what they do.
Yeah. I mean, I always thought when he left, his whole run was, I'm going to prove Dad wrong. And Dad being Vince. I am worthy.
Yeah.
And I also, I think AEW lost some of its identity, that undesirable to undeniable thing that Cody had, which I definitely think that I think I'm seeing some of that again, where we're taking their Smile into Misfit Toys kind of stuff. Harley Cameron, the Outrunners getting super over, you know what I mean? And people who are just straight up wrestlers getting over, not less sports entertainment-y people. But I think he does go back. I agree. He founded that thing, man. He wasn't Punk, because Punk came in after it was established. He was a day one guy. You know what I mean? He's a day one guy, and I think he, like you said, I think he comes back, and I think he does some good business for them. At least I hope. I would love to see it. I'm a Cody guy.
I would love to see it too. But all right, Frank D, take us home. What's your last one?
What's the last one? Jeez, I don't know. There's so many different ones out there. But I'll say this one, because this one actually was brought up the other day, and I kind of want to talk about it. What if we don't lose Owen Hart?
Thought about that a lot.
What happens if we don't have Over the Edge 99? That never happens. Where does Owen go? Where does Owen's legacy go? Where does he fit? Does Owen eventually go to WCW? Does Owen become world champion? I don't think Owen ever becomes world champion. I think the Steve Austin thing is always going to keep him down.
It's going to follow him, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think Owen kind of stays where he's at, unfortunately, until, at least if he's still wrestling until the brand split. Then I can see him becoming the world champion with the big gold belt, but not the WWE champion.
Mick Foley said in his book that Owen was really, his plan was retirement. Like that's why I say if he still wrestles. Yeah. So, but even then, you could see him go, and I think he would go to WCW. And I think if he's going to end his career, he ends it with Brett.
I agree with that too.
And Jeff and them. And I think if Owen Hart does a retirement match, they do a big WCW in Calgary type deal, and that's where I think Owen retires. And I want to say every once in a while for some sort of farewell or charity, he'll come out of retirement. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But I don't see him come. I actually think he stays out and maybe ends up. What I think he ends up doing is he's doing what Natalya is doing with the dungeon, and he's the next great trainer. He carries his dad's legacy, and he is the one training everybody. Like, could I actually have seen him in Ring of Honor, like being like the head of their dojo, or like running that, or being like talking there, being the commissioner or something like that? yeah, I could see that in him training that.
I can see him in TNA as well. I can see him in the TNA.
That whole new
No,
crop of hearts too, like leading them on.
Let me give you one more real quick. So, what if Bret Hart never gets hurt?
By Goldberg?
By Goldberg. What if Bret never gets hurt? Does Bret continue on? Does
Yeah,
Bret continue on in WCW?
Yes.
Or does Bret eventually go back to WWE?
I think he continues on.
He continues on.
Yeah, I think he does.
Yeah.
So
there was a lot of animosity between him and Vince at that time.
Yeah,
Still.
I actually think he goes to TNA. So if they close out, I have a hard time thinking that Bret at that time goes back to WWE. One, he has that big contract, so they weren't signing anybody.
Yeah.
Which of course was their downfall. It was like, what if the invasion was done right? It was. But I think if there was any guy I would have gone after, if I'm WWE, would have been Bret to bring him back. I would have paid that contract and get him back in. But actually, you'd be paying him more than you actually paid for WCW, probably.
Yeah.
I think
he would have got that money back.
I think he would have gone to TNA. I think because he would have worked the Australia tours like he did as a mouthpiece essentially for Jeff Jarrett, WWA. I think he would have gone to TNA, and I think he would have been the NWA World Champion. He would have been their first champion.
Geez. That was some horrible TV. Jesus Christ! That WWA shit, World Wrestling All Stars. My God.
Listen, that's something I'm glad I missed.
Oh, I ordered that shit.
Oh my God.
That was from my college days. You know what? I dodged two things. I dodged herpes and I dodged the WWA guys.
Yeah,
so I mean,
horrible.
but I would have got a bigger pop. But what can I tell you? Is I think he would have been TNA champion. Him and Shamrock, that would have been cool. Like him and all that. And then he would have bugged out eventually, got pissed off at Jeff and gone back to WWF.
Hey, that's I kind of agree with that. Yeah.
Me too, man. But that was a good talk. Good talk, fellas. Let's wrap this thing up. Final shots and thoughts. Well, Mr. Bodkin, this has been we actually went over by a lot. So great talk,
my life
man.
with podcast.
Great. It was a great talk, honestly. Thanks for coming on the show. Go ahead, man. Let everybody know where they can find you. Plug away.
Well, Dean and Kelvin, thank you so much for letting me come hang out at your house. This was a lot of fun. I really appreciated it. Thank you so much. My name is Bill Bodkin. I am the editor-in-chief of thepopbreak.com. We've been doing this for 16 years. Follow us over there, thepopbreak.com or at thepopbreak on all your favorite platforms and forms of social media, is what I meant to say. I am the co-host of the Socially Distanced Podcast, which is the flagship podcast of thepopbreak.com. We just celebrated episode 250 this past week. We talked about the film that inspired the name for the site, 1991's Point Break, starring Keanu Reeves and Patrick Swayze. Next week, we get a DFPN All-Star on the show. We get Jen Johnson to join us to talk about Daredevil Born Again, because
love it.
She was just like, I have to be on to talk about Matt Murdock. And I'm like, okay, sure. No problem, man. So we got that coming up on the Bill and the Bill versus the MCU podcast. You can find that if you search The Pop Break on all your favorite streaming and podcast platforms. That is a Marvel First Watch and Rewatch podcast. We just did our annual Feige Awards, which was essentially like our best of what we watched from the year before, which was all the X-Men films, and then the final seasons of all the Defender shows. We also reviewed Captain America Brave New World, and I'm also on the TV Break podcast, same streaming hub, The Pop Break, where we talk monthly about all the ins and outs of television. Like I said, check out The Pop Break. I've got some cool stories coming up. Just did some comic book stuff on One World Under Doom, new Marvel series that's airing, that's on stands right now. And yeah, go check us out. And again, thank you so much for having me on there. And I got a shout out. I'm the place I met Kelvin first was, of course, BCP Plus. Yep. I am a first ballot apparently. ECP Hall of Famer. It's a very short list. So I am there, and thanks to Rob, who is always connecting me with very good people.
Absolutely, man. And for real, thank you for coming on the show. This was an awesome talk, man.
Thank you for having me. We'll talk about Dixie Dynamite, that 1988 Clash of Champions 1 year. Don't worry.
Yeah, no, we ought to do that. Should do a watch along one of these days of that shit.
I mean, if you think I was joking, I am 100% not. I'm ready for let's talk some fucking Tim Horner getting squashed by a Master Blaster. Fuck yeah.
No, man.
Crush, my first Clash of Champions ever. Come on.
Hell yeah. So doors open, man. Anytime you want to come over, just let me know. We got space for you, man. Anytime.
Thank you,
Frank D, what you got, buddy?
Nothing much, man. Just finishing myself, trying to join the 501st Legion, so I'm just finishing my Vader for that. And follow your boy on Instagram, Vader Cosplay. Gonna be posting some more stuff on there. Bill, it's a pleasure meeting you, sir. Appreciate you coming on the podcast tonight. We had a very good conversation. We kind of agree on Star Wars, and we kind of don't, but that's the way it works. We it's everybody has an opinion, right? So we have to do it again. We definitely have to do it again.
Just why there's no Ewoks animated series right now. Come on,
you
sons of bitches. Give me what I want.
No, this was fun. But like I said, how it's your boy D Vader Cosplay on Instagram. You can give me a follow. Appreciate that. Also, don't forget to help control the pet population. Have those pets spayed or neutered. I'm getting a little irritated, bro. Like every night over here, people are talking about, oh, my dog got out. My dog got out. Well, why don't you close the fucking gate? And maybe he won't get out. You know what I mean? So, hey. I don't know, bro. I don't know.
Take care of your animals, people.
Yeah, take care of your fucking animals, bro. You know what I mean? So, but other than that, that's it, bro. Like, there's nothing else. I mean, I guess I'll check out Dynamite, see what they did tonight.
It was a good show. It was a good show.
See what they did. Other than that, I got nothing else, man. Can't wait to see what happens after this Saturday at the Elimination Chamber. Will Cody sell his soul? Is he going to sell his soul? Seth Rollins says, "Don't make me regret helping you."
That was one of his better promos.
Yeah, it was. It was. So I'm kind of curious to see what they do at Elimination Chamber. I'm not holding my breath just because Cody didn't want to turn in AEW. So I don't know.
I really enjoyed the fact that Seth Rollins definitely, just took his clothes were made out of an old AMC movie theater.
Oh, I got a request here from a build box. That was quick. My gosh.
Hey, I
support these things work. Well, I appreciate that. I got a bunch of people here. As a matter of fact, okay.
Check your messages, man.
Yeah, I actually never do, so that's okay.
But before we get out of here, once again, thank you guys for subscribing to the No Gimmicks YouTube. We're going to try to pump out more content because, this was something we weren't expecting. So we normally do one show a month, one show a week. And now that's increasing to 2. Shout out to MPX. We do a weekly show. So we're going to try to pump out more daily content for you guys. Just make sure you like and subscribe. Let us know you enjoy the content. Follow us on Facebook at the No Gimmicks Podcast fan group, Instagram at No Gimmicks DFPN, also on Twitter, or X, whatever you want to call it, No Gimmicks DFPN. Follow us, show us some love, man. And once again, thank you guys for coming in. If you guys got nothing else, I'm good.
Oh, just to say this right quick, it came up. I had this whole thing planned out as far as a video that I was going to do, a whole short. Well, I was going to be talking about Kathleen Kennedy. So that's what we're kind of going to be producing on the YouTube channel, kind of moving forward. Is I'm just going to do shorts. If something happens, I'm just going to come here and rant about it. If Kathleen Kennedy sucks, I want to say she sucks. I mean, am I really surprised she's stepping away? No, because Bob Iger told her to step away last year, and she didn't want to do it. But nobody knows about that. See, all the stuff that I know, no one knows about. No one's talking about it because I can't talk about it. But I know things. So I'm not surprised at all. I'm not surprised at all about any of this stuff. But I'm just going to start coming up here just shooting the shit. I'm gonna tell my buddy, hey, listen, man, you give me stuff, I'm just gonna talk about it. Cool.
All right. Dope.
That's what I'm gonna do.
All right, man. So, thank you guys for tuning in. Until next time, be safe, take care of each other, enjoy what you want to enjoy, and peace.
Don't be a damn.
And I know it's all business, all business, all business. We give them no gimmick. Yeah. And I know it's all business, all business, all business. We give them no gimmick. Yeah. And I know it's all business, all business, all business. We give them no gimmicks, gimmicks.